Godzilla vs. Kong from 2021. We're going to give this movie a grade. But before I do that, what is movie breakdown? The movie review series where we look at new and old movies, give them a grade 8 through F, plus and minus do count. And if the review you want me to do, let me know. Please put in the comment section below and I get to as best I can. Also Patreon.com/Ali Zakka. For $2 a month, get the cut in front of everybody, get your review out way before it comes out on Facebook and YouTube. Now, let's go ahead and get into today's episode of 2021's Godzilla vs. Kong. What is this movie about? This movie is about King Kong versus Godzilla. That's literally what it is. I know you're like, Ali, you just reiterated the title. I get that. But no, that's what this movie is about. So humans think that Godzilla has turned evil. He's attacking facilities. He's attacking land where people are living at, like areas inhabited by humans. So he's attacking that stuff, and they're like, we need a monster to fight Godzilla. Godzilla has gone rogue, evil, bad guy, anti-villain, villain, venom, like, you know, just all those things. Like, he's just being havoc for no reason. So there's like, who can we trust? We have King Kong. Word. So they go get King Kong. They want to have Kong travel to Antarctica to find I won't call it Middle Earth, but the world underneath the earth, like the center of the earth where Kong and Godzilla are from. And they want to try to get the power source that's down there so that they can use that energy to fight Godzilla. That is the pretty much on surface level of Godzilla versus Kong. Surface level. And I do the breath, blow the breath out, like just exhausted, like, because this movie is a tale of two movies. And because of the tale of two movies, the Kong versus Godzilla, Godzilla versus Kong part, great. Stuff is action's pretty good. The storyline behind is pretty good. Straightforward and simple. Humans traveling with Kong to find a power source to help defeat Godzilla, who everybody believes turned evil. The second half, Godzilla was attacking this base this company called Apex, and Apex was taking the head of Ghidorah from Godzilla King of the Monsters and pretty much doing the Pacific Rim 2 mentality or Pacific Rim 2 tactic of linking a human brain to the skull of a dead monster. And they're going to make that monster use that technology to turn weapon or metal into Mechagodzilla. So they're building another robot called Mechagodzilla to fight Godzilla. So the humans are trying to make their own Gundam in a sense, but an evil Godzilla version they were going to use to take down Godzilla because humans are greedy and we got to be the all-powerful at all times. And that part of the movie, like, it was just like, we need a villain that wasn't going to be Godzilla versus King Kong. We don't want people rooting against King Kong. We want people rooting against Godzilla. So we need another villain. So let's just throw in Mechagodzilla for no reason. Like, it wasn't really fully, like, fleshed out. One, Lannister from King of the Monsters, and I don't really remember his last name because, you know, Tyrion Lannister, the Lannisters. Well, the King Lannister from King of the Monsters, King Lannister from King of the Monsters. That's actually funny. He was the one who found the head at the end of Godzilla versus King Kong. Like, he found the head, at the end of Godzilla King of the Monster, he found the head, and then he was nowhere seen in this movie. Like, he sold the head off and then just disappeared. Like, what the heck? And then you get like a new corporation, Apex, who's like, yeah, we're trying to use it to create Mechagodzilla and use it to destroy Godzilla. And Godzilla's like, no, you got to messing around with machines and monsters. Y'all should be doing this. Y'all mess with nature. I'm putting a stop to it. So Godzilla was trying to get ahead of it because he saw Mechagodzilla come along. King Kong doesn't know any better, so King Kong just fighting Godzilla because two alpha males got to define who's in a hierarchy, and Godzilla's like, sit down, Kong. We don't got time for games. I'm trying to stop something. You're in the way. Okay, you want to square up? Square down and knock him down. Go take care of business, which Godzilla gets wrecked by Mechagodzilla. Thus, King Kong comes back in and saves Godzilla at the end of the movie. But the movie has that now, I'm not going to get off on the hinge here, but the tale of two tapes in this movie, the Mechagodzilla storyline was it just felt fan servicey and just felt forced in. And like, it was really no reason to be there. It was no reason to be there. You could have done this, and then, I don't know, like, they just threw it in. Like, there's even a scene where the kid goes, dude's like, that's Robot Godzilla, and kid, the guy was like, or one of the guys was like, that's Robot Godzilla, and the kid goes, no, that's Mecha Godzilla. How do you know? Nobody had made a name for this yet. And also, we're not watching the 1960s Godzilla movie, so we don't know who Mecha Godzilla is unless you watch those movies, which in this timeline, those movies don't exist. So it was like the second half with the Mecha Godzilla parts, that part, like, it was just fan servicey, took you out. And really, if you could wipe all that stuff out the movie, Godzilla versus Kong would have been fine, and you could have handled at the end of the movie where Godzilla was like, oh, I thought Kong was a threat, Kong thought Godzilla was a threat. In reality, like, neither one of them were, so they was like, oh, well, we'll just handle our business and keep going. And in this movie, Godzilla beats Kong one time for sure. I think the second time he gets up or knocks him down, and Kong think he got the victory, and Godzilla's like, no, I'm just resting for a moment, and then walks off. No, actually, Godzilla beats Kong twice in this movie because he walks off and then runs into Mechagodzilla, and it's like, fudge. And then when Kong like jumps in with Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, and also you have the kid who knows sign language kind of like convince Kong like, hey, Godzilla's not the enemy. We was wrong. Stupid enough because we're humans. And there's your enemy right there, that mecha robot machine. But I guess I kind of already wrapped everything I like as far as like the likes and dislikes. But the likes, I love the Godzilla versus Kong parts. Those scenes was actually pretty good. The human interaction with Kong works way more than Godzilla with human interaction. Maybe because most people just don't want to mess with Godzilla in their movies. They're always like, we gotta be afraid of him, so they don't ever try to talk to him. But the Kong aspect, when Kong interacts with Godzilla, those things, or with the people, those things work really, really well in these movies. And that aspect, the little blind, or the little girl who can't speak, has to use sign languages, and her and Kong communicate. That aspect worked. The scientist who gets brought out of nowhere to go try to get Godzilla on his, not Godzilla, but Kong on this mission. That stuff works. The things I like also, the music, they try to do the classical Godzilla music. It doesn't work in this. They play it and then they try to remix it. And anytime you remix classical music, just let it be. Don't have to remix it. It's not necessary. We get the nostalgic kick. Like King of the Monsters did the music right. This movie, And the OST for this movie is also So the music doesn't really stand out. CGI 2021, I think CGI delivered. For what this movie came out with how it came out, I think the CGI delivered. I didn't really, was like bothered by the CGI as I was with like King of the Monsters when they showed Ghidorah a few times. But other than that, like, I think CGI was fine for this movie. Dislikes, the Apex storyline, the Mechagodzilla storyline just seemed just thrown in because we need another villain for no reason. Like, you could have saved Mechagodzilla for another movie, but they need another villain, so they just like, all right, we're gonna do this, and we just throw this in here, and at the end of the movie, he kind of shows up. Matter of fact, the main bad guy who was the head of Apex, who was like doing the whole villain speech, and I think a character actually said, oh, he's doing the villain speech, I need to listen to this. Just for no reason, really. Like, he was like, oh yeah, we're doing technology and advancing humanity, but now we're gonna use this to rule the world and to our own thing. And Ghidorah's like, ha, thanks for bringing me back, sucker, and just kills him. And then it's like, beef with Godzilla, let's do this. And then I guess he's gonna conquer the world after that, but it doesn't happen because Mechagodzilla gets destroyed. Which, that fight was okay. Other likes in this movie, the fight scenes was cool. I remember the water fight scene a lot more than the city fight scene, but the fight scene was cool. They worked, they did a good job. And dislikes, I just think the dislikes, before I move on, was purely the Apex storyline with Mechagodzilla. Like, and then, Millie Bobby Brown was kind of wasted in this movie, and Kyle Chandler, I think Kyle Chandler is his name. Kyle Chandler is the guy from Friends. No, it's Kyle Chandler. Was kind of wasted in this movie. Like, they came back from the second movie, and they was like, do the best pieces And Formiga, she was also one of the good pieces of that movie, and they just don't get used at all. Where's King Lannister? He doesn't get used. So it's like you brought people back just like, hey, you remember them from the last movie? Yeah, I remember them from the last movie. Okay, cool. Well, we're not gonna focus on them. And it's just like, all right, cool. We could have had a whole thing where like maybe they teamed up with the girl who knows sign language and the scientist and could have had a whole conversation. But no, they didn't do that. It was just kind of pointless. I don't know. That just felt like they was there for not really anything. And also how to defeat Mechagodzilla. They said they pour alcohol on a corporate security computer, and it fries the computer and shut down Mechagodzilla. Which you're like, y'all ran out of ideas. And y'all was like, well, we have 3 people who do not work here. The computer got locked down, which ideally it should. So how are we going to break into it? Let's throw alcohol on it. Oh, look, it worked. Mechagodzilla got shut down. King Kong and Godzilla take your shots at Mechagodzilla to destroy it. And you're just like, that was the fail-safe, was to just shut down the machine via alcohol. So, yeah. This movie's okay. It's fun. Like, it's a fun flick. I think people will enjoy it. Like, it's all right. It's okay. All right, let's go get into cast and details and whatnot. So, Godzilla vs. Kong, like I said, 2021. PG-13 is 1 hour and 53 minutes, which, thank goodness, I actually like the fact that it wasn't 2 hours long. I think the movie didn't need to be 2 hours long. The writers and director is Adam Wingard. Writers are Terry Rossio, Michael Dougherty, and Zach Shields. Michael Dougherty, I feel like I've seen him and wrote other things, and I'm actually curious, was he in? Because he's been in other stuff, or he wrote other things. Michael Dougherty, known for Krampus, X2, X-Men 2, and Superman Returns. Okay, because like I've talked about him on this show before. Superman Returns, X2's X-Men. Oh, he also wrote X-Men Apocalypse and Godzilla King of the Monsters. Okay, so I actually watched a lot of his movies, and X2 was... People love X2, and X2 starts off really good. Just the ending of it doesn't really work well for me. Superman Returns was meh at best, and Godzilla vs. Godzilla King of the Monsters was all right. The budget for the movie was $200 million, and they made worldwide $470 million. So I don't know if they made their money back, but also it's during the time of COVID, so you can't really judge this movie off of that. The cast and crew, you have Alexander Skarsgård, who played Nathan. He's the head scientist. He's one of the guys you follow the most. He's kind of just like he wasn't down on his luck, but he definitely wasn't put together. Like, he just working in an office or the university, and they kind of go get him and say, hey, we need you to get Kong to the center of the earth and make sure we get this power source. So like, okay, so he just goes along. He used to work on Kong with Rebecca Hall's character, Elaine Andrews. They used to work together, and then like they end up working together again to pretty much get Kong, to pretty much be like guys for Kong, or let Kong guide them. You have Brian Tyree Henry, who plays Bernie Hayes. He was the skeptic, the podcaster who was like, oh, Monarch is this, and he's a conspiracy theorist podcast about like monsters and stuff like that, and about the Titans and how Apex is doing something wrong. Apex, he works for Apex. He's pretty much like getting podcasting off of Apex, which thus, like, he was a little bit probably comedic in his movie, but he was all right. Like, he wasn't really much of anything. I don't know. He was just there. Like, he helps Millie Bobby Brown, finds Apex, and finds King Ghidorah and Mechagodzilla, but for the most part, he was just kind of like, I don't know. If you take him out the movie with the movie flow, Yeah, yeah. He was vital to defeating Mechagodzilla by trying, his alcohol was used to destroy the city system, but for the most part, like he was kind of there. Like I feel like he didn't really make. Besides that scene at the end of the movie, wasn't really that impactful of a person. Him, Billy Bobby Brown, who also plays Maddie, she come back and plays Maddie. Like they was good as far as the acting goes, but their characters were just there for the most part. It was just something for us to watch, to give us time away from Godzilla and King Kong, and it was just like, oh, they're like Millie Bobby Brown Lee was like, okay, I found the source to what's going on, but what's next? There was nothing next. It was like I found the source. She sit and watch Godzilla versus Godzilla screamed. It was just like, what else was you doing? What did you think once you got to the villain? And the villain explained his path. Like, what was going to happen? If it wasn't for King Ghidorah taking over Mechagodzilla and destroying things, what would y'all would have done? Absolutely nothing. And back to Rebecca Hall, she was fine. She was fine. Like, she was cool. Like, her character's okay. On my mess's name, I apologize, but Shun Oguri, who plays Ren Sarazawa, I think he was Watanabe's son, or at least a relative of him at one point. He ended up doing the brain link between King Ghidorah and him, and to function Mechagodzilla. He was okay, just kind of there. Elza Gonzalez, who played Mia Simmons, she was the daughter of the main villain. She was also like okay, and she became a villain in the part of the movie. Like she was fine. You have Kyle Chandler, who played Mark Russell. He was there. Kaylee Hutto, who played Gia, she was fine. She was actually pretty fine. She was like one of the big pieces to connect between Kong and the humans, and she could do sign language. I thought she did good for her role, and she's one of the characters that you kind of attached to because she had the closest connection to Kong, and for the most part, Kong had the closest connection to her, and they worked. They worked her calming him down and all these things. Where you see why people were following Kong is because she was there to be Kong's like presence and Kong's guidance and Kong's relaxation, just keep him of ease. Damien Bitcher, who plays Walter. Sorry, I messed his last name up. He played Walter. He was a villain, and he was a villain. Like he did a good job. Like all the actors and actresses in this movie did a good job. It was just like villain. He was the villain. That's what he did. He was like speak monologue and all this stuff, and like, oh, I'm the good guy at first, but now I'm actually the bad guy. Haha, it's me who's controlling the world. Me to take over everybody. Like, okay, villain role. And then Julian Dennison, who played Josh, he was a friend of Millie Bobby Brown character. Not a comic relief character, but I will say this about the comic relief character. So about Julian and about Brian Tyree, they didn't feel like they was forced comedy, unlike King of the Monsters was forced comedy. This movie, like, they threw jokes that was relative to what was going on. It didn't seem like pun now. It didn't seem like that. It just seemed like they was just purely there, and they're just getting the audience, something away from Godzilla versus King Kong that really just, if you could have put it to another movie, it would have been fine, but they didn't. And they were just they're just there. They was there, and they was at little comedic beats, but they wasn't really like forced comedy. So I do give you that. They did a good job there as far as writing goes. And that's pretty much the cast. That's the cast in this movie. Any other thoughts? Not really. Not really at all. Like, I think I talked about everything I want to talk about. Like, I don't have any other thoughts. The music, like I said, it doesn't really stand out. When they try to do the old school Godzilla movie, they would edit it and they would like revise it and not sound the same. So it wasn't just a classical version they could have done. The fight scenes was good. The fight scenes did a good job. Like, I mean, Godzilla versus King Kong, those fight scenes worked. They did a good job as far as like monsters versus monsters. You got on the edge of your seat a little bit to watch it, so good work there. It's just like the human aspect of this movie, besides Gia's character, the villain was pointless. Like they could have saved making Godzilla for another movie. They could have done Godzilla versus King Kong, and King Kong gets beat. Godzilla can't find what he's looking for. So like he walks off frustrated. And then the after credit scene, you can do I found the machine, Mechagodzilla, we have it ready. And then the next movie, you could have done Mechagodzilla versus King Kong and Godzilla. That's how you could have done it. So I think this one, the Rush Mechagodzilla storyline kind of hurts it a lot. But other than that, it's fine. It's a popcorn flick. Speaking of which, is this a Friday night movie? Yeah, you can watch it on Friday night with your friends and family. This be one of those fine movies to watch with everybody and great time. I'm going to grade Godzilla vs. Kong from 2021. I'm going to give this movie a C+, a 79%. The reason why, because the main storyline, Godzilla vs. Kong, works. It works. Everything about those fight scenes and the music and the color and the I didn't talk about color of the movie and like how the lighting in certain fight scenes worked, like from daylight to nighttime. Like that stuff worked. It worked. The Mechagodzilla side of things just felt forced. Didn't really matter at certain times. You didn't really care as much. The villain thing was pointless. Like it was just there, and it just needed something for Godzilla vs. King Kong to team up against, and that was Mechagodzilla. Felt forced. Vera Farmiga's not in this movie. King Lannister's not in this movie. They just like completely erased two people from the last movie that actually was a bigger piece and would have made it more sense. Like if Apex was controlled by I know they're a terrorist group, but the terrorist group ended up creating Mechagodzilla, and they're like, okay, we're now going to get rid of humans because that's what our goal was. So that way the Titans can rule the planet because humans are a threat. If they were behind this, it makes complete sense. But the fact that they wasn't, it was just like, eh. So to me, the Mechagodzilla storyline was what hurts this movie and give it a C+ grade, 79%. IMDb gives this movie a 6.3 out of 10. That is a D-. And Rotten Tomatoes gives the movie the critics give it a 76%. So that is a C. And the audience gives this movie a 91%, which is an A-. So the audience are loving this movie. The critics and myself are all like, it's a fun movie, popcorn flick, but it definitely has some issues in here that could have been, worked on and made better. So yeah, that's my thoughts. If you've seen Godzilla vs. Kong from 2021, what did you think? Please put in the comment section below. On that, see you guys next episode of Movie Breakdowns, and keep being awesome. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I really appreciate that. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. If there's a review you want me to watch or do, let me know. Please put it in the comment section below this video. Also, you want to watch the last episode of Movie Breakdowns, it's right there. Just gotta click on it and you'll be able to watch it. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Love y'all, and keep being awesome.